No one ever talks about how loud an airport really is. Not the announcements, not the rolling suitcases, but the sound of normal life moving forward while one person suddenly stops. That person was Daniel Carter, and the moment his name echoed through the departure hall, his life quietly split into before and after. Airplane the hook, first minutes. Daniel had already passed security, shoes on, belt back where it belonged, passport stamped, boarding pass scanned. Everything said go. He was 10 steps away from Gate 47 when a calm voice spoke behind him. Sir, excuse me. Daniel didn't turn. Airports are full of voices that don't belong to you, sir. Daniel Carter. This time, the voice said his full name. He froze. Not because he was guilty, but because no one ever says your full name unless they already know something about you. Slowly, he turned. Point two airport security officers stood there. Not rushing, not aggressive. That calm was worse than shouting. Is there a problem? Daniel asked. The taller officer smiled politely. Just a quick check. Won't take long. Those words are never true. Luggage. A normal man with a normal beach. Daniel looked normal. 34 years old. Software consultant. Single. Traveling alone. His carry-on bag was small. Clean. Boring. Inside. A laptop, a phone charger, headphones. A folded jacket. Nothing illegal. Nothing suspicious, at least, nothing he knew about. The officer gestured toward a quiet corridor near the gate. Passengers walked past them. Some glanced. Most didn't care. That's the cruelest part. The world doesn't stop when your life does. Door the side around the room had no windows. White walls. A metal table. Point two chairs. Daniel placed his bag on the table. Is this random? He asked. The shorter officer didn't answer. Instead, he closed the door, clicked. A soft sound, but permanent. Mantelpiece clock. Time starts. Feel 10 minutes passed. No questions, no accusations. Just silence. Daniel's heartbeat became loud in his ears. He replayed everything in his mind. Did I pack something wrong? Did someone put something in my bag? Is this a mistake? Finally, the taller officer spoke. Where were you 3 nights ago? Daniel frowned. 3 nights ago? I was home, packing. The officer nodded and wrote nothing down. That scared Daniel more than anger would have. Mobile phone. The phone. Please place your phone on the table. Daniel hesitated. Why? Standard procedure. Nothing about this felt standard. Still, he placed the phone down. The officer didn't touch it. He just looked at Daniel. Have you ever carried something for someone else? Daniel laughed nervously. No, are you sure? Yes. The officer leaned back. Because our system says otherwise. The room felt smaller. Brain flashbacks. Being Daniel remembered the cafe. 2 days ago. Rain outside. A stranger asking for a charger. Just for a minute. Daniel had lent him one. Just a charger, right? Firecracker. The first real SHA. A shorter officer finally opened the bag. Slowly. Carefully. If expecting something to explode, he lifted the jacket. Checked the laptop. Then he paused. There was an extra pocket Daniel had never used. He reached inside. Pulled something out. A small black object. Daniel stared. I've never seen that before. The officers didn't react. That silence again. Police car light. But here's the twist. The object wasn't illegal. Not a weapon. Not drugs. It was a tracking device, military grade. Daniel's mouth went dry. That's not mine, he whispered. The taller officer finally looked directly at him. We know. Daniel blinked. Then why am I here? The officer leaned closer. Because whoever put this in your bag didn't want you to be caught. The door opened again. This time, a man in a dark suit walked in. No badge visible. No name given. He placed a folder on the table. Thick, heavy. He looked at Daniel and said calmly, Mr. Carter, you're not under arrest. But you're not flying anywhere today. Daniel swallowed. Am I in danger? The man closed the folder without opening it. You already were. The lights flickered once, and the door locked again. Silence inside a locked room feels different when you know you're not alone. Daniel Carter sat perfectly still, hands on the cold metal table, eyes fixed on the folder the man in the dark suit had placed in front of him. The folder stayed closed. That was deliberate. Fear grows faster when you're forced to imagine what's inside. A different kind of HLI. The man finally spoke. You can call me Mr. Hale. Daniel nodded slowly. Am I being detained? Mr. Hale smiled faintly. No, but you are being contained. That word landed heavier than any accusation. The 2 security officers stood behind him now. Silent. Watching.mr? Hale slid the folder an inch closer to Daniel. Before today, had you ever heard of something called a ghost carrier? Daniel shook his head. No, that's good, Hale said. It means you were doing your job properly. Daniel frowned. My job. Brain the psychological game being as Hale didn't open the folder. Instead, he asked questions that didn't seem connected. How often do you travel? Do you ever accept favors from strangers? Do you notice people watching you? Daniel answered honestly. I live a normal life. Hale finally looked up. Normal people are perfect, he said. They don't attract attention. Daniel felt something twist in his stomach. Open file folder. The folder opened. Inside were photographs that Daniel's chest tightened. Photos of him entering his apartment, sitting in the cave, packing his bag, walking through the airport. Since when? Daniel whispered. 6 months. Hale replied calmly. Daniel's breath caught. I didn't do anything. Hale nodded. Exactly. Puzzle pieces start thinking. Hale explained slowly, almost kindly. Certain operations require objects to cross borders unnoticed. Not weapons, not drugs. Information, technology, tracking systems. Things that raise alarms only after they've already arrived. We don't move those items directly, Hale said. We let ordinary people do it for us. Daniel's voice shook. You planted it on me. Hale didn't deny it. And someone else planned to intercept it later. Daniel felt dizzy. So I was bait. Hale corrected him. You were camouflage. Mantelpiece clock. The waiting hours passed. Daniel wasn't questioned anymore. That was worse. He was given water. Food he couldn't eat. Time he couldn't escape. Every sound outside the room made his heart race. Footsteps. Radios. Doors opening and closing. Finally, Hale returned. This time, he looked tense. Police car light. Something went wrong. The tracker moved, Hale said. Daniel looked up sharply. How? Someone removed it from your bag. Daniel froze. But it was here. Hale's jaw tightened. It shouldn't have been. The room suddenly felt dangerous. Brain the RN. Daniel's mind raced back. The bag had left his sight once. Only once. When security asked him to step aside at the gate. Just 30 seconds. 30 seconds was enough? Hale stared at him. They didn't want the device to fly. They wanted to know who would react. Daniel whispered. So this was a test. Hale nodded slowly. And you passed. Warning, a moral situation. Hale leaned forward. You can walk away right now. We erase today. You go home. Daniel swallowed. And the people who did this? Hale's silence was the answer. Daniel felt anger rise. You're letting them win. Hale's eyes hardened. Or I can give you a choice most people never get. Firecracker. The OFFER. Hale slid a single document across the table. NO logos to NO signatures. Just words. Stay. Help us identify the real carrier. You won't be protected. And if something goes wrong, we've never met. Daniel stared at the paper. His old life was already gone, that he knew that now. Hourglass. Not done. The ending of part 2. Cliffhanger. Daniel picked up the pen. His hand trembled. Why me? He asked. Hale answered quietly. Because they already chose you first. Daniel signed AT that exact moment. Alarms echoed faintly through the airport. Hale's phone vibrated. He looked at the screen, then at Daniel. They know, he said. The lights dimmed, and somewhere in the airport, someone started running. The first thing Daniel noticed was how fast fear spread. Not loudly, not dramatically. Fear moved in glances, in stopped footsteps, in the sudden way people looked at their phones without reading anything. The airport was still open. Flights were still boarding. But something invisible had begun to collapse. Police car light. When the airport, the alarms echoed again, softer this time. Not evacuation alarms. Internal ones.mr. Hale was already moving. Stay close, he said. Daniel stood up, legs stiff. What's happening? Hale didn't slow down. The operation just became public. They exited the room into a restricted corridor Daniel didn't know existed. Behind the walls, families laughing, travelers rushing. Announcements repeating the same calm lies. None of them knew how close they were to panic. Brain the real truth as they walked. Hale finally spoke. You were never supposed to fly. Daniel frowned. But you said they didn't want the device to cross borders. Hale interrupted. They wanted to see who would notice it missing. Daniel stopped. So, this was about reactions. Hale nodded. Every airport has ghosts. People who move things without appearing on any record. Daniel felt sick. And the real carrier? Hale glanced sideways. He's still here. I, the man who never entered an observation room overlooking the main terminal. Hundreds of people below. Hale pointed. Daniel followed his finger. A man stood near a coffee kiosk. Mid-40s. Gray jacket. Ordinary face. Not rushing. Not hiding. Why him? Daniel whispered. Hale answered quietly. Because he knows panic attracts attention. Calm people disappear. The man checked his watch. Then smiled. Puzzle piece. Everything falls into PLL. Opened a live feed. Security cameras. Thermal scans. Movement patterns. The man wasn't alone. 3 others scattered across the terminal. None of them looked connected. That was the point. They're not smuggling objects, Hale said. They're mapping responses. Daniel understood. Testing how fast systems react. Hale nodded. And who reacts? Daniel felt a chill. Like me. Warning the moment of situation. Hale turned to Daniel. We end this quietly, he said. No arrests. No chaos. Daniel stared at the man below. And then what? Hale didn't answer. Daniel finally said what had been building inside him. You'll let them go. Hale's silence confirmed it. Daniel shook his head. So nothing changes. Hale stepped closer. The world stays stable. Daniel laughed bitterly. For who? Performing arts. Daniel steps out of the SHWS. Daniel did something Hale didn't expect. He walked toward the door. Where are you going? Hale asked sharply. Daniel didn't turn. You said I passed the test, he replied. Let me prove it. Before Hale could stop him, Daniel was gone. Firecracker, the most dangerous. Daniel entered the terminal. The noise hit him instantly. People, luggage, announcements, normal life. That he walked straight toward the man in the gray jacket. Heart pounding. Every step felt irreversible. When Daniel stood beside him, the man looked up, smiled again. You're not supposed to be here, the man said softly. Daniel replied. Neither are you. The man's eyes sharpened. Just for a second. Brain the conversation that changed. They spoke quietly, surrounded by noise. You were the decoy, the man said. Daniel nodded. And you're the observer. The man chuckled. We don't destroy systems, he said. We expose weaknesses. Daniel replied calmly. You hide behind innocent people. The man's smile faded. You volunteered, he said. Daniel felt the truth burn. Yes, he admitted. But now everyone's watching. Police Garlight, the final Daniel raised his voice. Not shouting, just loud enough. Security, he said clearly. This man removed restricted equipment from my bag. Time froze. Heads turned. Phones lifted. Security reacted instantly. Too fast. Too public. The man sighed. You failed. He whispered to AS. Officers approached. The man did not resist. Neither did the others. Because the damage was already done. Ice Cube, the fictional news headlines. NO official statements. The story disappeared within hours. Daniel was released that night. NO apology. NO explanation. Just a warning. You will never be invisible again. Daniel returned home. His apartment felt smaller, quieter, safer, and not safe at all. Weeks later, Daniel noticed things. A car parked too long. A phone call with no voice. A stranger who looked away too quickly. Brain the final. Daniel finally understood. The operation didn't end at the airport. IT expanded, and now he was part of it. Not as a carrier, not as bait, but as proof. Proof that the system reacts only when someone is brave and not stop being normal. Daniel closed his laptop, turned off the light, and whispered to himself, next time, I won't be the only one watching.